recording, whatever you want to call it, to get us ready for the color unit of our painting class. So, where I wanted to start with color was talking to you guys a little bit about a color wheel and explaining how it works and how we're going to use this to inform us and guide us through the loose color grid exercises. Now, in this screen recording, I've got this, another color wheel, the assignment itself, and some examples of loose color grids by Hans Hofmann. So, let's start here. The color grid, this is what we're looking at. I don't know if you guys have seen a color grid before or whatnot, really looked at one. It's based on, actually, the history of the color grid. Newton invented the color grid. It's not based on the rainbow, all right? So I don't know how Newton came up with this color scheme or whatnot, but he's the one that really designed the color wheel, came up with the idea and structured it in such a way. So let's start with primary colors. Primary colors are the three colors, yellow, red, and blue, that you cannot use any other color to mix those colors. So they sit up there by themselves, right? Yellow, red, and blue. Now, if you look at color wheels, you'll probably see yellow at the top all the time. I don't know why that is. It's just how it is. So once again, primary, red, yellow, and blue. Then the next set of color, the structure that we come up with is complementaries. So if we go with yellow, purple is its complementary. Now on the other side you can see like purpley blue there and a violetly purple there. So it's got more red in it here, more blue in it there. So yellow and purple are complements. Green, green, and red, yellow and purple are complements. Green and red are complements, right? And blue and orange are complements. All right? So yellow, purple, red, green, blue, orange. They're the complements. All right? So in the loose color grids, you're going to have to do one grid, or you have a choice. There's 4 grids I've set up. You have a choice of 3. You choose the 3 you want to do. One of the grids is using complements to generate a grid. You're only going to pick one set of complements. You're either going to pick the yellow and the purple, the red and the green, or the blue and the orange. Now, if you pick the blue and orange, you are going to have to mix using the red and the yellow and orange. Okay? So that's something we can talk about in class more. After you watch the videos, I'll talk about it in the videos while I'm making them. If you want to go out and buy an orange, you are more than welcome to do that. Like go out and buy a cadmium orange medium, right? So to be right in the middle. So that's the one set of them. Complements. You choose complements. Yellow, purple, red, green, blue, orange. The next grid is warm and cool colors. So the warm colors are yellow through red. So you have yellow, red, yellow, orange, and red. They're the warm colors, right? Now, over in here, we're going to get into something really interesting, but since that really reads as green in there, that's a cool color. Okay, so now here's your cool colors. From purple there, even over in here, I'd have to say it's a purple color, but it's more on the warm side. It's leaning towards red, right? So purple through green are your cools. So purple, blue, and green are your cools. So in that grid, you're choosing either 2 warms, right, and 1 cool, or 2 cools and 1 warm to generate that grid. The third type grid that you are going to have that you can choose from is called a analogous colors grid, right? So there are colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel. Now, you could technically go here, the 3 colors that sit next to each other, right? So you could go green, yellow, and orange in here, right? So you might pick those 3 in here. But this requires some mixing in here, right? To get that guy to read more like that and this to mix the orange and yellow or red and yellow to get in here. All right, so there's going to be some mixing involved in this assignment. So if you're picking the green, the greenish yellow to the yellow and the orangey yellow, they'd be your three. If you go over in here to green, blue, green, and then blue, they'd be your three, right? If you go here to blue, purple, and bluish purple, they'd be your three, okay? So when I'm doing this assignment, I'd be thinking about straddling this border here somewhere. So if I go here, here, and here, I get a warm and two cools, but that middle one wanting to read warm and cool at the same time. Or I'd go up in here, 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 and here, right? You can have successful grid working on and through here. And you can have a successful grid working on through here. Because there are going to be two other, not colors, because they're really values. White, you will be able to use white. And then I will talk about not using black, but using a combination of ultramarine, blue, and burnt sienna, or is it burnt umber? One of those two, we'll figure it out, to generate a color that reads as if it's black. And that's the color I would like you to add to your colors if you're looking to create a darker valued color. We're not going to use black in this assignment, okay? So there's the color wheel. Let's move on to the second one, which is here. This is another color wheel. There's your primaries right there, right? Red, yellow, blue. Okay, now this one, they put the red at the top, which is fine. It doesn't matter where it goes, all right? Just as long as you have that scheme, logical scheme going. There's your primaries. Your secondaries are over in here, and you generate that by mixing red and yellow to come up with that orange. Over here, you'd mix the red and the blue to come up with that purple. Then over here, you mix the blue and the yellow to come up with the green. The secondaries is like another way of saying it's complement, okay? So you have your primaries, your secondaries, which is a complement. The orange is going to be complement of the blue. The green is going to be complement of the red. The purple is going to be complement of the yellow. Then up in here, you have your tertiaries, which we don't really need to get into it because we're just going to mix and see what happens, and we'll talk about that later. So you don't have to worry about here. But what happens in your tertiary is when you mix the yellow with this secondary, the orange, you get that guy in there. You're going to get a lighter one. You're going to get a lighter one here. So I think in terms of vocabulary, the words that you really need to know is here, secondary, which equates to complement. Tertiary, you don't need to know, but we will talk about that. And then obviously analogous colors, three that sit next to each other. All right. So there's that wheel. Now, here's not the page I wanted to go to. That's the page I wanted to go to. And yes, welcome back. This is the write-up. So there's the loose color grid assignments and guideline. In this assignment, the student completes 3 color grids. I got to spell check this and grammar check this. In this assignment, the student will complete 3 color grids. The student will have the option of choosing 3 out of the following color schemes, out of the 4 following color schemes that are to be followed in each grid, right? So you're going here, warm and cool colors. You're choosing, they're the warms again. There's the cools. You're choosing either 2 warms and a cool or 2 cools and a warm to complete that grid. Also, white and that dark value that we've been talking about. But we are going to talk about those and when you introduce those into the painting scheme, right? And I'm a fan of holding off on using white and that dark color I was talking about to push my colors until I have established something going on in my painting, all right? So there's the warm and cool, the complementary again, right? Choose one of the above complementary color combinations. The analogous colors, which we've talked about in there, so you're choosing 3 colors that sit next to each other. Tons of mixing in here, okay? And then your choice down in here. Now your choice down in here, you choose 3 colors to start with. And once again, I'd be thinking about 2 warms and a cool, or 2 cools and a warm, okay? But because of the second step in here, 2 more colors after the first layer of paint, you can introduce 2 more. Now I want to say you can introduce 2 more. You don't have to if you don't want to. You could also introduce 1 more, right? But once you get that first layer of paint done, then you go in and you go like, okay, let's try to pop this a little bit. Maybe you go like 3 colors and you're not sure about one of the colors in there and you want to modify it, or you want to just add more and restructure your design big time. So there's the 4 options you have. You guys choose 3. Down in here, the assignment specifics are easy. One grid needs to be 12 by 12, the other grid needs to be 14 by 14, and the third grid needs to be 16 by 16. Give yourself a 1-inch border around all 4 sides of the grids, and so you're going to have to use the large Bristol board for this, okay? The size of the grid and which colors theme you use on it, that's up to your choice, okay? So maybe, but I'd be thinking about what's happening down in here. So before we decide what grid goes on what size, look at what happens down in here. One grid is to be done with brushes only, right? One grid is to be done with palette knife and brushes. No, palette knife, just leave that there. And then one grid is to be done with brushes and palette knife. Now, when I look at the sizes up here, I might go like, you know what, that palette knife guy, that's going to be the 12 by 12. All right? Doesn't have to be, but it is. Now I think of that, I think that because, you know what, it might be easier to move around in there. It's not as much room to get that paint on that surface. The 14 by 14 might be a combination of the brushes and palette knife. And the 16 by 16 would be the brushes. All right, so think a little bit about what you do. Just don't go randomly about this, okay? So down in here, there's going to be more videos. I'll get them up accordingly. They should be up by Saturday at the latest. All right, maybe you get this before Saturday. I'd love to get it up into the Brightspace as well as into the Google Drive folders. So there's the assignments. You guys have this now. You can take a screenshot of it. Let me do this. Let's see if we can boom. Nope, didn't want to do that. We'll go back in here because what we wanted to do was make it smaller. So you can see the whole page there, right? Now if you want to take a screenshot of it, and if you guys don't know how to do a screenshot, in a Mac, it's Shift Command 4, and then you'll see after a second, there's the tool to make a screenshot. You drag it across like that, and boom, there you are. All right, so now there's the screenshot. We don't need that. All right, but we want to get out of there because we want to look at the other work. He's now going to say you need to save this. Anyway, beautiful day today, isn't it, guys? This is like I got to work some jokes into here, but I don't know what kind of jokes I would work into it. All right, there we go. Now, there's the assignment. Now, let's get out of here. Now, for the examples of paintings I chose for you, and I think there's 5 here altogether. I chose Hans Hofmann. You can see him up in here. You can look at him online, and we'll talk more about him in class. So he was a artist, came over to the United States in the late 30s, maybe early 40s, sometime in that period. Got into painting, lit the world on fire with his approach to painting. I've seen videos of him talking. We will talk more about his concept in class. And so this is what I mean by loose grid, right? You see what's happening? We have this overall red field going on in here that does have surface variation in it, right? It's not the same red and orange there. There's things happening up in there, through in there, over in there. A little bit, that curve right there is so important, it's ridiculous. Right? That diagonal is important. That diagonal, right? So he's thinking of a new way of ordering an image. Now we can see surface undulation happening in here, right? The yellow sits in a different visual level than the blue does, this orange does. And you know, when we get in here, and we might assume right away that this yellow sits on top of the orange, but when I start to look down in here, I start to think that that yellow sits back behind that. But as soon as I shift out of this area, like it feels like if I'm down in here, it feels like the yellow right in here is behind the orange right here is behind the yellow. All right, so surface undulation, some nice structure in here, movement. Still, we're still thinking about composition and generating eye movement. Visual weight and importance also, okay? So there's one, there's another one, right? Same thing. Surface undulation, where does this guy sit in relationship to the blue? And these guys knew this. They knew things were going on as we see color in different amounts and different placements, that the surface type of undulation would happen. And so when I look at this green right here, man, I'm looking in the center of that green, and there's a part of me that says it sits on top of this blue. And then I get like over into this blue and I go like, you know what, that green drops back. Now this is going to have a different kind of flip-floppy thing going on in there when I look over in there. Look at what happens up in here. This is really sweet up in here. That yellow to that lighter green to that darker green, right? And then over here, this orange to this orange. You also can look at this. So say you're overwhelmed with this, right? And you're looking at it and it's up on your screen and you go like, I want to see what a certain section of it looks like. And you do, again, a screenshot of a section. And like, well, what if I go over in here? Because I get up in there and I go like, okay, there's some interesting stuff happening up in here. Now there's my screenshot, right? And I go like, that could be the structure, the geometric structure, the shapes and whatnot for a painting I would like to do, right? I'd like to work on this, and I would like to take this green here, drop it in there, and then maybe mess with it here. And look at that, that is not black, that is a green, and mess with it here. And I might want to divide this thing up more, okay? So these are all the possibilities that you have in this. Let's go one, and then there. And the third one is here. Now we're getting more complex, right? Because look at all that what he's got going. So this is interesting. And oh my God, look at this. This theme in here reminds me of what happens over in here, right? Anyway, he didn't just dive in here and get here like right away when he started painting like this. This builds up over a long time of painting. And so once again, we get into this and I go like, look at the structure down in here. It is so strong in here, right? And then he breaks it over in here and it loosens up and drives in here. So we're in here, coming down in here, and then we curl back up through in here. All because of that there, right? There is some beautiful stuff happening up in here. And then now look at this area up in here in relationship to the other areas he has here, right? So let's do this. There. We'll go down into about, let's go all the way, no. Let's go up in here so we can really see what happens with it in relationship to the other shapes around there. Not going to be big, but nope, not going to be big. Give you an idea, that is whacked. Where's that coming from? Because it doesn't feel like it sits, right? It doesn't feel like it sits with the rest of it in here. The sensibility of it. Look at this down in here, right? And over in here. So I think that area, and that area starts to group up when I start to see them in my eyes, like here, up to here, over to here. All right, all with this happening in here, or this happening in here, and this happening in here. Look at the space over in here. Where are things falling in there? Where's that yellowy orange in relationship to the blue? Where's that red in relationship to the blue? In relationship to this? Right? Oh, in relationship to this. Now, if you can't come up with the proper answer, and there might not be a proper answer, that's all right. The point of doing this and walking through this is to build your knowledge base of seeing possibilities in how you could solve the grid exercise, okay? And let's go to this last one. This is a cool, right? This could easily be the warm and cool grid, right? Your warms, yellow and red, right? Couple oranges in there, right? And then your cools, blue and green, right? Oh my God, there's so much beautiful stuff happening up in here. Once again, he's rough in here, or loose, not rough, loose, and then he's tighter over in here. And look at the edges again, right? We've been talking about how important edges are. Do a quick scan and go through there. Now, do you remember some of your guys, we talking about this, and some of your guys where you have these two values going in there, darker blue, lighter blue, but because it's not a uniform or consistent area in there, you get this shape starting to happen in another shape, that's totally fine. But I think you want to control that, right? The first thing I'd be thinking about is how can I make this green and has some variation in it feel like it's consistent? Same up in here in this muted aqua blue, and then you have the yellow here popping out through that corner. How can I make this feel consistent and then slide that in there? All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. I know I stumbled a bit in there. We'll clarify those things in class. Watch through. You got the images here. You have the video here. You can work through this a few times and look. You have the assignment sheet. And then the next set of videos are going to be me setting up, me already set up, and me getting into the warm and cool color scheme, followed by the complementary color scheme, then the analogous color scheme, and the choice. Okay, so there's 3 out of 4 once again, but make sure, at the bottom of that assignment guidelines and whatnot, I say, please watch those videos before we start. And you should know when you get the videos because I'll be dropping them I'll be sharing them with everybody. All right, the links in an email. All right, starting probably, with this one first and then later today as I get those videos done. All right, guys, hope you're having a good one and we'll talk to you soon enough.